major from Alice. You're going to hear a lot about Alice today, folks. She will speak on behalf of our student body. And finally, we'll hear from Dr. Maria Martinez, Associate Vice President for Student Access, who will share with us a little bit about this fantastic program and its design and what it's going to do. So at this time, let's hear from our number one Alice native, Javelina, who graduated from Alice High School, enrolled here, and you know the rest of the story. Earned 3 degrees, met his wife, put Texas A&M-Kingsville on the map, came back home last June to serve as our 22nd president. Please welcome Dr. Robert Bailey.
Let me start off by saying, let me welcome Mayor Sam Fugate is with us today. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. He claimed I interrupted his nap for him to be here, so I'm sorry about that, Mayor. No, he's always working and he's always supporting this university, and I can't thank him enough. I know we have members from Alice ISD. Thank y'all so much for being here. So today's announcement marks an amazing example of a collective impact to really help our community. And our mission is laser focused. It's focused on student success, but more importantly, it's focused on helping our community. This is particularly special because the Hector and Gloria López Foundation really originated from Alice, Texas, America. This is where I'm from. And for it to come full circle early on as something so special for this university, because this is an honor that they have selected us for this honor. It's a big deal for us. And I think it validates exactly what we're doing around our mission and what we stand for in our backyard. So it's such an honor to have that tie, that back to Alice, back to this community. So when you look at our student body, 83% of our TAMUK Latino students are from our local region. 83% of our Latino students are first generation. 85% of those students are Pell eligible. That's our backyard. And we've talked about over my 10 months that I've been here, is that it's important that we double down on our community. And the reason we're going to double down in our community is because I mentioned this earlier to Mr. Rodriguez and the entire staff that's here and his board, that there are kiddos out in our community dreaming of something bigger. They're dreaming of something special. Sometimes it's just basic AC in the summers, right? But they want something better for their families. They don't know how to get there. They don't know what it's going to take. And I have a very similar story. When I first arrived at this university, surrounded by such talented faculty and staff, and I said, I want some of that, whatever that is. I want all those letters behind their names, but I'm not sure what all that is. But what I knew that it represented for me was educational excellence. We have faculty, we have staff, we have administrators here in the crowd. Thank y'all for being here, because each of you represent the very best of this community. Your all-in spirit around our students is endless. This is not a job for us. This is a mission. It's a hard mission, but nothing brings us more joy than to wake up every morning to serve our community. So if kids are dreaming big and they're going to use us as a vehicle, as a way to prepare themselves, do we have the capacity? Do we have the resources that it's going to take to ensure that every kiddo in our backyard has the means and the resources to achieve graduation, to achieve excellence, right? You know, we talk about some of our successes and what we're seeing around our enrollment figures, which are blowing up. Over 100%, right? Applications, over 100% students admitted. There is this synergy in our community. But when they get here and we get them through our front door, there's an obligation, a moral imperative that we get these students graduated. We believe, as educators of A&M-Kingsville, that this is a game changer. This is bigger than those students walking the stage. They just really don't even know it yet. I talked a little bit at my inauguration about Humberto Gonzalez, 1927 graduate. 1920, one of our very first graduating students. And the impact that courageous act of graduating here and what it's meant to his family. We just graduated his great-grandson, and we're fixing to graduate his great-granddaughter. From his kids to his grandkids to his great-grandkids, they've all come to this school. They've all become teachers and lawyers and heads of major businesses all over this state. That's what that one courageous act by a kid out of Zapata, Texas, to come here with hope, with probably no plan other than, I know if I do this, I will change the trajectory of my family. And boy, did he ever. So when Mr. Rodriguez approached us to say, we've got this process, would you be interested in going through this very rigorous process, I may add? And nothing is more rewarding to get affirmed when you have a rigorous process to get something very special for this university. I said, we're all in. We're all in because we're on a mission to ensure that we serve our backyard. And 83% of our students are Latino students. We have to double down on Latino student success. Those students are going to stay here. They're going to be future mayors. They're going to be future county attorneys. They're going to be future business owners. Maybe the head of Celanese. This is who we're preparing. And we want to ensure that our partners are aligned with that mission. So I'm just so ecstatic to be selected among very few universities who will say they're HSIs, but what are they doing to validate the authenticity around being an HSI? We are actively pursuing the Seal of Excelencia, which is another rigorous process through Excellence in Education to ensure that our students in our backyard understand what we're doing for them in this community. And this benefits all students. But this is our backyard. We've got to own our backyard and prepare our backyard for success. So Mr. Rodriguez, on behalf of A&M-Kingsville and your entire, I just want to thank you for entrusting us to be good stewards of this amazing gift to move forward and advance our mission to ensure that every student has the opportunity to graduate and begin to change their course, their family outlook, to achieve excellence. Excellence is contagious. Once you taste it, once you see it, once you experience it, you want more. And that's what this Scholars Program will represent. It'll represent the best of education, the best of mentoring, the very best of student success. So this is just step one in many more things that we need to do to ensure that every student has a shot to achieve what we all have achieved through a college degree or maybe landing that next job that we've been actively searching for. So thank you, community, for stepping up and supporting this amazing announcement today. They're all running together. Because it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I can't, thank you enough, Mr. Rodriguez and your entire board, everyone that showed up from the family, representing the family and representing Alice, Texas, America. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Sergio Rodriguez, their CEO for the Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation, to say a few words. Thank you.
So this is the last of 5 announcements that we are doing in the last couple of weeks. But this one is really special to us. For one, I guess I'm the second now of at least 3 that was born in Alice. At the P&S Hospital, if anyone remembers the P&S Hospital. It's not much to look at anymore for those of you who've seen it. But I want to thank you, first of all, President Vela, for your leadership and your warm welcome and your kind words here at the campus today, which is beautiful. Thank you also to Sofia Izaguirre for sharing your time with us today and your leadership role here on campus, and I look forward to hearing your remarks here shortly. I'd also like to thank Brad Walker and the development team here who helped get this through. It was, as Dr. Vela said, it was a rigorous application, and you all obviously are here today, so thank you to the team, and also to my team at the Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation. Can you all raise a hand if you're on the team? And we have a few from Austin and a few from Alice, and one from San Antonio. So they will be working closely with Maria Martinez and her team to make this partnership a success, and I have no doubt it will be. We also have a couple of our board members here today who've traveled in, Marina Garza from Alice, and Dr. Jose Gutierrez from Hebronville. So thank you all for coming and making this today, because this is a special announcement for us, as we've said. So it's such a pleasure to be here today, very close to our hometown for many of us, and for my Uncle Hector, who grew up in Oilton, Texas, near Laredo, and my Aunt Gloria, who grew up in San Diego. And usually at this point, when I talk to audiences, they say, "Which San Diego are you talking about?" But I don't think I need to do that in this case. So South Texas in the 1920s and 30s was not an easy life. And from those early days, I'm sure my aunt and uncle didn't know exactly what life had in store for them and the impact that they would have today, but they knew that it required higher education. That was not optional for them. They met at the University of Texas in Austin when my uncle was only 16 years old, a graduate of Martin High School in Laredo. He was the second oldest of 7 children in Oilton, and he was sent to college with my grandparents' expectations that he would be the first in the family to graduate. My uncle went on. While he started his education at UT, he then ultimately finished at the Baylor Law School after serving in the U.S. Army in Japan for 2 years. All of that before he was 21, which is incredible to think about today. Now, my Aunt Gloria was expected to attend college as the daughter of the town doctor in San Diego, Dr. Jose Garcia. And he was the town doctor from about 1900 to 1950 in San Diego. He was originally from Camargo and educated in Monterrey, and then later at the medical school Escuela Nacional de Medicina de Mexico in Mexico City. My Aunt Gloria spoke Spanish, English, and French, having been educated primarily by her father, being homeschooled in San Diego, and then later was actually the valedictorian of the Vaqueros there at San Diego. She went on to graduate in 1947 from UT, Phi Beta Kappa, with a degree in French, but for those of us who knew her, she really had a fondness for math and for numbers, and that's really what took took on the rest of her life. So this will not be a surprise to those of you from South Texas, but you'll know that this is an oil and gas boom and bust area. And in the 1950s, there was an oil and gas boom, and it made sense for my Uncle Hector to start his practice in Alice after that boom started. So after they got married in 1951, my aunt and uncle made Alice their new home. It was a great time and a great place for him to start his practice, as well as their company, the Galo Land and Cattle Company, with land that had been in her family since the 18th and 19th centuries from Spanish and Mexican land grants. Truly, they were equal partners in this business. My Aunt Gloria oversaw the finances, the taxes, the investments, and my Uncle Hector used his legal background and his expertise in oil and gas to advise external clients, but also to help keep the land in their family and add to it, which he did significantly. Together, the two of them grew their ranching business to 14 ranches, comprising nearly 35,000 acres, and over time, they benefited from the oil and gas exploration, the drilling, and the hunting on those lands. So those lands today are still with the foundation. The ranches are now part of the foundation and are primarily in Brooks County, Jim Hogg County, Jim Wells, Duval, and Webb County. So this is where I think it gets sort of personal and to some of the words that Dr. Vela was speaking about earlier, but imagine 1950 or 1949, where my uncle was going to university or to law school, and what that was like for him. And I'll just say that throughout his career, my uncle was often the only Latino sitting in the room. And I have a photograph of his law school class in 1949, about 15 to 20 young men, and he's the only Latino in Waco. Okay, 1949, that seems not unlikely. Almost 50 years later, I have a picture of him with the board of directors of the Corpus Christi National Bank, which doesn't exist anymore in Corpus Christi. About 25 people, and he's the only Latino in the room. And I told the story a couple of weeks ago. I met with one of the old officers from the Corpus Christi National Bank maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and he knew my Uncle Hector, and I said, well, how is it that he was on the board of directors there? And he looked at me and kind of chuckled, and he said, because your uncle had more money in the bank than anybody else. So I like to think that they lowered the bar for the other 24 board members to let them on. So for those of you who knew him, you know that he believed in hard work. He probably woke up at 3 or 4 in the morning every day of his life, worked 7 days a week, and he believed the time was the most precious asset anybody had. And so you better be using it to improve yourself. My Aunt Gloria was known to offer her opinion and support when it came to college plans, and her advice was always the same. It was go to college. You can't not go to college. And she said that to all of us. They both understood the importance of hard work, the perils of a boom and bust economy, which they saw frequently living in Alice, and the importance of higher education to help Latinos get that seat at the table. Now, the boom and bust economy is one that we're familiar with, and I think we had this conversation a little bit at lunch, but living in Alice as they did, my uncle's office is still on the same piece of property that Alice High School is on today, overlooking the track. And they saw generation after generation of students who would graduate from Alice High School. If their parents had not gone to college, very likely these students did not go to college. And if times were good and the oil and gas services companies were hiring, these students thought they died and gone to heaven because they were making big money and working, and then 2 or 3 years later, they were out of a job, no college degree to fall back on, and that's exactly the cycle that they wanted to stop. So over time, my aunt and uncle could no longer run the business as they had for so many years, and they brought me in fresh from a 20-year career with a large technology company where I worked in the US and abroad. I had spent a fair amount of my childhood, especially in the summers, on those hot, dusty ranches in South Texas, but I didn't know all the complexities of running an oil and gas business or a ranching business. So over the past several years, I've been able to learn the business, and I'm honored to carry on the legacy they left behind, a ranching business and investments that now enable the Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation to do our work to support Latino students, honoring Hector and Gloria's commitment to higher education and to finding that seat at the table. It's that commitment that brings us here today. Texas has the second largest Latino population in the country, and yet, according to the US Census, 70% of non-Hispanic white Texans have some college or a degree, while 40% of Latinos can say the same. So that's 70% compared to 40%. The state's 60 by 30 plan calls for 60% of working-age Texans to receive a degree, a certificate, or some kind of post-secondary credential of value by 2030. To reach that goal and close that gap, at least 285,000 Latino students need to complete a degree or certificate each year. But in 2021, fewer than 132,000 students had done that, Latino students had done that, and fewer than half of those degrees, 52,000, were bachelor's degrees. So think about that for a minute. In Texas, in 2021, only 52,000 of the degrees awarded were bachelor's degrees to Latinos. And that's the fastest growing demographic here in the state. We're committed to doing our part to support Hispanic serving institutions like Texas A&M-Kingsville, where I think I heard 83% of graduates are Latino, and I believe was one of the first universities designated as an HSI. An alum of Texas University-Kingsville, President Vela's experience in intentionally serving students, as well as his leadership, bring an incredible opportunity to build on the university's success for years to come. To support the work happening at Texas A&M University-Kingsville, today we're announcing a $1.4 million grant to fund 15 López Scholars starting the fall of 2023, offering support for tuition and fees, housing, meals and transportation, as well as full wraparound services, including paid internships, study abroad, leadership development, and much more. Now, there's no application for this, and the scholars will be selected at random from a pool of students who have demonstrated financial need, intend to be the first in their family to graduate from college, and are Latino. We look forward to our partnership and our shared goal of working with students to cross the stage and receive their diploma, creating opportunities for that seat at the table that we talked about, for enabling economic growth in South Texas, and for making Texas a better place to live. So thank you very much. Now I get to introduce Sofia Izaguirre, who, as Dr. Vela said, is a freshman. And the first thing that I was struck by is that when I was a freshman, I probably couldn't have even sat down in a chair without falling. So I'm already impressed just talking to her for a few minutes at how amazingly mature she is. And I know she's going to have wonderful remarks for us here today.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. My name is Sofia Izaguirre, and like many of you all here today, I too am an Alice native. For those of you that are unfamiliar with my hometown, it faces the challenge of poverty, with nearly a quarter of its population facing this obstacle. Growing up, I saw how difficult life could be for those struggling to make ends meet, and especially how difficult it was to break this cycle. I knew kids who would move around every 6 months to work the fields, and kids who would sell food on the bus, all for the sake of helping their families. Fortunately, I am very lucky to have two parents who attended this university and have sacrificed tremendously for me to receive the best education possible. My parents' sacrifices have motivated me to work hard and apply for scholarships. I wanted to make the most out of the opportunities they provided for me. In high school, I was blessed to receive a scholarship that would pay for my first year to attend St. John Paul II High School in Corpus Christi, Texas. While attending St. John Paul II, I discovered the LULAC Feria de las Flores program around my junior year. Through this program, I was given countless of leadership and networking opportunities. On July 31st, 2021, I was honored to become the 62nd Feria de las Flores Queen, which has ultimately allowed me to be here today. During one of our leadership training sessions, we spent the day at TAMUK and heard from many inspirational women about their journey in education. It was on this day that I decided to call TAMUK my new home for the next 4 years. Since coming to TAMUK, I have seized every opportunity that has presented itself to me. Within the first 2 weeks of me being here, I received an offer to work for the Office of Marketing and Communications as a content creator and student ambassador. I instantly said yes to this opportunity and have been working there since. This job has given me a tremendous amount of experience in my field of marketing, taught me how to communicate my ideas efficiently, and given me a team that supports me in both the professional and personal way. I am also a member of the Campus Activities Board and recently experienced the opportunity of a lifetime. I was selected to attend the National Association of Campus Activities Conference in Louisville, Kentucky, and I experienced my first plane ride ever. It is opportunities like these that have truly transformed my college experience. In coming to TAMUK, I can genuinely say that I feel supported both academically and on a personal level. I have experienced firsthand how investing in students and providing us with the resources needed to succeed can make all the difference in receiving and completing a degree. These are the kinds of experiences that all South Texas students deserve. My experience has taught me that education is a powerful tool that can transform lives and communities. It is something that we must all strive to make available to everyone, no matter their circumstance. On behalf of the students of Texas A&M University-Kingsville, we would like to thank the Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation for transforming and changing the lives of students through the gift of a javelina education. Thank you.
That is the reason that we all come to work every day, that we show up at this university. It is because of students like you and many students to come that we're honored to serve Texas A&M University-Kingsville. So thank you, Sophia. This generous gift we celebrate today will allow the TAMUK Student Access and Student Success teams to provide Lopez Scholars with a comprehensive, holistic, student-centered experience. Research indicates that Latino and first-generation students thrive when they are supported in multiple, meaningful ways. In 2022, here at TAMUK, one cohort of 122 Latino first-gen STEM students received comprehensive holistic support services and persisted at 98% compared to the national average of nearly 70% that same year. We will draw from research-based best practices to provide a tailored Lopez Scholars experience. First, the Lopez Scholars experience will encompass a specialized orientation, a bridge camp, and a family engagement program. Supportive services throughout the academic year will include a Lopez Living Learning Community, mentoring, tutoring, leadership skill building, and exposure to undergraduate research opportunities. Lopez Scholars will participate in educational cultural trips, and they will have the opportunity to take part in internships and study abroad. Lopez Scholars will be supported by a dedicated Lopez director, Ms. Alex Amaya, a student engagement coordinator, and mentors and tutors. This is just a snapshot of many services that students will receive from departments across campus, and we're excited to welcome the Lopez Scholars into the Javelina Pack. Once again, on behalf of Texas A&M University-Kingsville, thank you, Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation, for this generous gift. We are deeply honored to be a part of keeping the impactful legacy of Hector and Gloria Lopez alive. And I also would like to thank the many people in this room when it came to application time. There are several people in this room who contributed to the application because we all care, because this is an us thing. And that's how these students will be treated along with the other students here at Texas A&M University-Kingsville. So thank you from the bottom and the top of our hearts. Thank you.
Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation, a gift of $1.4 million, setting up a cohort of López Scholars with what we like to call full rides, okay? All right? And a guaranteed path to student success. Can we think of anything better? So if I could ask Dr. Rito Silva, our Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, to come join me. We've got a little heavy lifting to do, Rito. Okay? And if we could have Sergio, Sophia, and Dr. Vela come before the banner. I think that's a good place for us to take a photo. Yes. Rito, get over here with me. I need some help, man. All right. So, you all live and work in Austin, okay? But obviously, with Alice roots, and you understand South Texas. But in Austin, you get to see a pretty famous work of art anytime you want to go see it. You can go to the state capitol grounds and see the Tejano Monument, okay? Produced by Armando Hinojosa, a 1965 graduate of Texas College of Arts and Industries, a javelina, okay? World-renowned artist with his best work, his most renowned piece of work in Austin. You can't always make it down to the state capitol. We want you to have something in your office to remember the javelinas by. And so we've got a work done by Armando on behalf of the university. It's I'm going to call it a beautiful bronze javelina. And we would like to present this to you, Sergio, and the Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation now.
We only have our offices about 3 or 4 blocks from the Capitol. So now I need to go back and take a look. It's been a while since I've been to the Capitol.
Walk through. It's beautiful.
This is not light, by the way.
I promised we'd do the heavy lifting.
Probably 20, 25 pounds. We're gonna go.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes our program. Thank you again to Sergio, to all of the staff and the board members of the Hector and Gloria Lopez Foundation. It's such an honor to receive this gift and to put it to work. We're very excited about our future. Our immediate future includes a reception right outside the foyer. So please, we'll have opportunity for photos. We may have some interview requests. And I think we've got some punch and cookies and a parting gift. So thank you again.
Let me just give a big shout out to Brad Walker and his entire team. As Sergio mentioned, what an amazing event. Adriana, thank you so much. Our Marcom, Chief of Marcom, Adriana. And I want to acknowledge our Jim Wells County Judge Pete Trevino is here with us as well. So thank you, Judge.
I think they're
Very nice. This will fit in nicely.
Can we do this?